Hello, everyone. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes CSI implementation group. Today is February 16, 2018. We're going to jump right into the agenda. There's a handful of PRs that need attention. Looks like we have a PR from Felipe. I think this is the volume attributes one. Awesome. Felipe, do you want to talk about this?
First, sorry for leaving you guys without updates for so long. But finally, I managed to get some time to do it. So yesterday I was in sync with Vlad, and well, he reviewed it, and it should be good. We just need the approval to merge.
Awesome.
Yes, Vlad's approval was not enough.
Yep. Okay, I will review this, and then I'll add the appropriate reviewers on there as well. Thank you very much for this. This is huge. I think this is one of the last big pieces that I wanted to get in.
Yep. Sure, no problem.
Thanks, Felipe.
Thank you, Vlad.
Next up is external provisioner changes from Sergey.
Right, it's the minor change with regards to the image tagging, and like it seems that before you were tagging it with a canary tag. I mean, I'm not sure if you want to continue doing that, or if we could switch to basically tagging the image with the right version. In this case, we can, let's say, do tests and run tests with the different versions at the same time. So I basically, it would be nice to have a kind of an opinion on that from
Luis, Jan, Brad, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I think if it's configurable, then I'm all set with it. I'm good.
Okay. Maybe just run it by Jan. I don't know. I don't think he's in this meeting, but just text him on Slack.
I think I was the one that did this, so.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay with it.
All right.
I'll review it. Let me.
Yeah, please, Luis, take a look at it. See if you spot anything weird. So.
Yeah, I'll actually give me some time because I'll try it out today too.
Cool. And at the same time, we need to make sure that we build all the images statically, because I came across an issue where the image built with the CentOS works fine, and the image built with the Alpine keeps crashing. Yeah, so we have to make sure that every image built statically, then Alpine works just fine.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What do you mean by statically?
When you compile your Go binary,
correct,
you have the option of statically compiling it so that all the dependencies are part of the same binary.
Saad, if you click on the second link, that's for a registrar. That's where I basically added the keywords I'm proposing to add, like the second PR. Yeah, okay. This one exactly. Yeah, and there should be a updated. Yeah, you see here. So basically, we need to add these LD flags, blah blah blah, all that thing.
Yep. That's a very good idea. I agree with this. In fact, this is driver registrar.
That's good. Just to let you know, Sergey, I almost never look at my notifications from GitHub because there's so many. When you want me to look at something, just hit me on Slack.
Sure. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that.
I hate my keyboard right now. Okay. Any bugs that we want to take a look at? All right, moving along. Any updates? Need V2 image push to Quay for end-to-end testing. Who added this?
Yeah, I added it. I tried to run E2E test, CSI test locally, and then with the change we are pushing, which will be hopefully merged today, we will be using V020 tag, and none of those images exist at the K. It would be great to push all 4 images we need for E2E testing.
Okay.
I will take care of that. It's a good point.
Thank you.
Actually, I should give you access just to do that yourself.
It would make life much easier for sure.
Yeah, let me if you create a Quay account and send me on Slack the name, and I'll add you as the ability to push.
Okay, we'll do that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Now let's just go through the, unless there's any other quick updates folks want to give, or otherwise we'll just go through the task list. Okay, let's just go through the task list. Moving components from 0.1 to 0.2. I believe Sergey sent out a handful of PRs, both for external components and the internal Kubernetes components. I've signed off on the internal changes, which are going to update both the internal components and the end-to-end tests to start using the 0.20 version. The interesting thing is that 0.2 has not yet been cut yet. So what we are pointing at is currently the head version of CSI in anticipation of it becoming 0.2. If for some reason we are unable to get 0.2 cut before code freeze, then basically we're just going to be pointing at this semi 0.2 version. We'll have to consider that after code freeze and figure out what our plan is. But as far as the CSI side is concerned, the current plan is that we will propose cutting 0.2 on Wednesday. And according to the rules, we will allow 72 hours for comment and then cut it end of day Friday, which gives us the subsequent Monday to the day of the code freeze to pick up the official 0.2 version. And so when that happens, I'm going to have to lean on you, Sergey, to once again go in and pick up the tagged 0.2 version, which will have probably a handful more changes, but I don't think any of those changes are going to be breaking because I think we got the breaking changes in the PRs that you have below. So this is in progress. We're going to have to keep a close eye on this over the next week or so.
I have a question, just a quick question. On the CSI 0.2, I thought the release date is like sometime in April. Was that I'm wrong? I thought that's on the GitHub. I see that.
I think that was just artificially added.
Okay.
What we want to do is correspond the release date for CSI with Kubernetes so that we can pick up the changes.
Okay.
So that's the current plan. And then the subsequent 0.3 would be approximately 3 months from that. I talked to G from Mesos, and it looks like Mesos is not going to have a release until another 3 months or so. So the subsequent 0.3 release is probably what they're going to pick up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, and moving mount propagation to beta, Jan gave an update on this at the community meeting or at the storage SIG, and there's a PR out that needs to get merged, so that's looking good. Volume attachment API to beta, Nick finished this a while ago. Moving CSI volume source API to beta. Vlad, do you want to talk about this?
I was on mute. Can you go back? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Oh, it's the.
So I think it needs approval from.
Oh yeah. That's right. Last time I looked at it yesterday, it needed approval from T-Hawk and.
Okay, so we'll. I'll make sure to try to ping Tim and see if we could get his attention. Update flags. So have all the flags that we need to be unblocked for beta been updated?
Yeah, as far as I could tell,
Okay.
the couple places that matter, I mean, that were crucial, I was gonna do them, and then I found out that Ren, or was it Nick Ren, had already taken care of those.
Perfect.
One of them was the actual feature gate value was updated to the beta enum.
And that feature gate value, is it enabled by default on beta?
It is enabled by default. I would have to double check.
Okay, just double check that. I want to make sure that this thing goes out without folks having to flip flags anymore.
Oh, is that okay? So that's what that means. Because
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you release beta, you have the option of setting a default. And the nice thing about beta is we can enable it by default.
Okay.
So let's just make sure that the default is enabled. I believe when I looked at Nick Wren's PR, that's what I
think it was. Yeah,
that.
but I'll double check again because it's
Okay.
already merged. If not, we can change it real quick.
Cool.
But I believe so.
Okay. Next item is making volume attributes first class. Felipe did an awesome job over the last couple days to get this out. So basically, PR is in review, and I'll take a look at it, and I think we're going to need to put Dokken on this one as well for review. So that looks good. Node authorizer has already been fixed. CSI credentials. CSI credentials, I have been dragging my feet on, so this is completely on me, not on Sergey. The changes that Sergey made to the CSI spec have gotten in, but the corresponding changes that we need to make on the Kubernetes side have not. I'm going to try to prioritize this hire today and see if I can get a PR out and then set up a meeting with Jordan and Sergey to review it. It is possible that this change may not get into beta. And if it does not, I think we're going to be okay with that because you will still have a set of volume plugins that will be able to work. There will be a set of volume plugins where it won't work, but it won't be the end of the world. It shouldn't block beta as far as I can tell. But I'm going to try very hard to get this in. I think the long pole here is going to be reviewing. Next up is registration of the socket with kubelet device plugin mechanism. This has been driven by somebody from Red Hat, Vikas, and it's being shepherded along by my colleague on the device plugin GPU team. Chakri has a couple of questions there. I don't know if Chakri's back from vacation yet. But realistically, this design is pretty massive, and it's not looking like it's going to get into this release. The good thing is that it is also looking like it's going to be backwards compatible, so that we should be able to have it continue to work by simply updating the device registrar container to do the two-way handshake. So it shouldn't require actually changing anything in the CSI plugin itself. So we have to keep an eye on that. Let's see if it gets in or it doesn't.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, the way things are working right now with respect to the internal plugin, using a known directory, everything will stay the same.
All of that'll stay.
Okay.
So the only difference is going to be that today what happens is when we need to talk to a CSI driver from kubelet, we generate the path using the device driver name, and it's like a known path that we generate. And then we go and reach out to it, and we expect that CSI is available at that endpoint. Okay. What this proposal is proposing is that there is some generic directory that contains a bunch of sockets. It could be, a recursive directory with subdirectories, and it could contain CSI drivers. It could contain GPU drivers. It could contain any other set of drivers. And it's proposing a new gRPC protocol to do that initial negotiation to discover what language that socket is exposing. So it would specify the name, the version, and the driver type, and then some common device registration component in kubelet, would be monitoring this folder. If it discovers a new plugin, it would go and probe it, and then it would use a callback to call back the appropriate component. So like CSI would need to have some callback handler that says, please call me anytime you find a new CSI driver. And then when it does, it would update its internal table, and then we would need to modify CSI to basically look at that table for the driver when it needs to talk to a driver. And
So
that's on the kubelet side, so that should be invisible to the end user or to the driver author. The only thing that the driver author would need to do is they would need to update the CSI registrar container, which today basically doesn't do anything. It would need to modify that to basically do the two-way handshake with kubelet. Or well, it would need to modify that. We would modify the driver registrar container to do the two-way handshake, and the plugin author would basically need to update the version of their driver registrar to the one that does this handshake.
And so this would require a change to the CSI as well, which is not going to happen this release, right?
The CSI spec?
Yes, CSI spec.
So I'm hoping we don't need to modify the CSI spec at all. I'm hoping that the driver registrar sidecar container handles this.
Oh, okay. So when you said CSI has a callback, you didn't mean the CSI spec. Right.
I meant, this is all within like the components that we control.
All right. We could go ahead and move on. I think I got it.
Okay. So specifying file system is good. CSI version handling in Kubernetes and tests are good. Enabling end-to-end tests, I think this is something we've put off for a while. Luis, do you have any updates on this?
No, not at all. Sorry.
Okay. Would you be okay, Sergey, I think I talked to you about this last night. Are you okay picking this item up?
I need a bit of clarification because I checked the PR and it's merged. So basically,
this is the old PR. This is the one that Luis merged last quarter to enable to actually create the test. But the problem is that the test is not running in CI. So if you go to test grid, you can see all the tests that run as part of SIG storage. And this won't be one of the tests that's running. And I think there's more work to be done to enable that.
Yeah, there's the comment is right there on the PR. Yeah, and then it says you have to send another PR to something else called test infra instead to enable it. But the thing is this is to enable 0.1 in the flag gates. That's right, the feature gates. So that's the key. The feature gates needs to be enabled.
What about since we are going to beta? I mean, would we still need to enable the feature gate now, or it should be enabled automatically since it's a beta?
That's a good point. It should now be enabled automatically, I believe. Is that correct, Luis?
Yeah. So let me go back into this today, and then I'll give you a message. I'll talk to both of you about it.
Cool. I just want to make sure that we have our CI/CD running this thing. Thank you for that. So status is Luis will work with Sergey. Sergey, I always slaughter your name. I apologize. I'll fix that later. Okay, next up is enabling end-to-end tests for beta. I think both of these items are actually the same now that we are in beta.
Yeah.
So we'll just leave them both, and Sergey will work on both of these. Internal component kubelet should probe prior to storage operations. So there was a giant external thread where I tried to get clarification. Chakri and I tried to get clarification on the probe call. There was many comments. And ultimately what we have decided is that the purpose of the probe call is periodic health monitoring. And what that means is the location that it will interact with Kubernetes is the liveness probe for a plugin, which means that none of the internal components need to be updated. So We don't need to update the Kubernetes core to handle probe, which is very nice, which means we can go ahead and remove this item. The only thing that needs to be modified is the deployment scripts, and we can do that externally. Volume attachment from polling to watch is done. Consider moving Docker to Quay. Luis, what's the status of this right now?
Consider push to drivers. Let's see. Update the E2E test is where we are right now.
Okay.
That's what Sergey and I were just working on.
Okay.
But the first two are complete as far as I know.
Okay.
And this last one's complete too. Last one's just a note.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
I think Sergey just pushed something up there, right, Sergey?
I think he needs permissions to be able to push to Quay.
No, we tested it. We tested it. I sent a registrar and it perfectly was transferred there, so it's okay now.
Okay. So I guess we could move this. We can consider this red then, or green.
Yeah, we did this while we were doing the meeting.
Awesome. Okay. Next up is topology. I have a PR out on the CSI side to handle topology. It's a very complicated subject matter, and as such, it's received a ton of clarifying comments. For the most part, they are addressed. I think the biggest concern is from G, from Mesos. The problem is that the way Mesos is architected, this may not work for them. And so G is going to try to see if what they can do to make it work. And I'm following up on that. Problem is, because of those concerns, we may not be able to get this in time. And even if we do, we're not going to be able to get the changes on the Kubernetes side in. For example, we're going to need to introduce new topology field on storage class, things like that. Michelle is driving that on the Kubernetes side. She has a design in on the Kubernetes side. So basically, we're going to have to punt the work for this to next quarter. And I think that's okay. We made good progress on getting the design nailed down this quarter. And that seems to be the pattern for a few of these things. And it usually makes sense. We usually do like a quarter of design and then a quarter of implementation. So I think this is following that pattern. So what that means is that the entry changes required for topology are likely not going to go in this quarter. I'm going to leave this tracking until we get to code freeze, and then we can remove it. Block device support is also the same story. Aaron has Scott working on this. Vlad is working with both of them to help them understand what it means to bring block to CSI. But at this point, they're only going to be able to get a design doc out and not an implementation. So we are blocked on this until next quarter as well. And then if CSI implements mount devices, mount device, David has been similar story, big giant PR on the CSI side of things with a ton of comments. It's very close to merge, but there's still folks that are trickling in providing feedback. If that gets in this quarter, I think David is ready to merge. David, are you on the line?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the Kubernetes changes are written. I think I can send out the PR like maybe Monday for review, but we're not going to be able, I'm going to have to tag it do not merge until the spec changes go in.
Yep.
But everything's looking good. Like if the spec goes in, I think it's looking good to go in this before code freeze.
Was CPU Guy's latest comment positive or negative?
Negative.
Okay. All right. So we'll follow up on that.
Yeah. Okay.
That is the set of changes that we are tracking for the Kubernetes core, which has its code freeze coming up February 26th, which is just about a week away. I think the most important critical item that I want to get in is the volume attributes to first class and making sure that we snap to the cut version of 0.2. I think those are looking very good. The rest of these items, if they don't get in, it'll be unfortunate, but it is not the end of the world. We're still going to be able to move the core into beta and have folks start writing CSI drivers, and the rest of these changes are additive. So that's they can come along in subsequent quarters, and we'll try to get in as many of them as we can this quarter. I'm not going to go through the rest of these since we're at the end of the meeting. If you have any status updates there, please feel free to go ahead and update the agenda. Is there any questions, comments, concerns?
Yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I will be on vacation next week and over the weekend too.
Okay.
So I will be out for a while. Now, I will try to, if there's any emergencies, please let me know. But they will take me about a day to return to you since I will be at Disney. So.
All right, don't worry about it. Thank you for all your work.
Hey, Louis, you coming to Florida?
Yes, I am. I'll be in Orlando.
Oh, okay. I live in Tampa, so come.
I'll come by with just snack along.
All right.
All right. Anything else? All right, cool. Keep driving and let's get this thing to beta. Thank you, everyone.
All right, take care, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.